Barbarian. We talked about this last week when we had Justin Long on the podcast. Barbarian came out, I think, 2 weeks ago. Stars, like we mentioned, Justin Long, Georgina Campbell in the lead role as Tess, Bill Skarsgård as the character Keith, Justin Long as the character AJ. Directed by Zach Kreger, who big comedy background. We talked.
Kids, you know.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah.
Arch.
Yeah.
He was. I didn't know that he was Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
In the famous Abraham Lincoln skit.
Yep.
Yeah, so he's been in a bunch of different things, but a lot of comedy. And here we go again, Comedy Mind doing a
horror movie. Yeah,
a horror movie. He was also in the movie College, by the way, which starred Chicken Little from American Idol.
Kevin Covase. I thought
Yes.
that was such a weird. Who was that three? It was Drake Bell.
Kevin
Covase,
Kevin Covase. Haley Bennett was in that movie too. She's been on a bunch of random shit since then. Yeah. That movie,
summer 2008, I believe.
that was a Blockbuster movie for me and my friends in high school, our senior year. We would rent really shitty movies from Blockbuster, or we'd be like movie we hadn't heard of, and College was one of them. And I don't think it's good, but there's a lot of funny random shit in that movie for being a pretty bad movie. The Blockbuster gem find we found Foot Fist Way, by the way,
Such a good
that is a classic. Foot Fist Way is incredible.
great movie.
Who directed that? Because he directed something else afterwards. Right?
Foot Fist Way was directed. Jody Hill.
Jody Hill. Because he did. Honestly, I want to do at some point the one request. I want to do a throwback episode about Observe and Report because I think it is the single most cancelable movie that's ever made. The
entire back and forth between Seth Rogen and Aziz Ansari.
What the fuck would I want to blow up a Chick-fil-A? It's fucking delicious. Yeah.
I mean, the fact that Seth Rogen just beats up a shit ton of cops and then like full on date rape.
Wait, did we not? Did we do a throwback review of Observe and
I
Report?
think we did a Paul Blart, or maybe we did.
No,
both.
I think we. Why did I watch? I watched it for some reason.
Relatively recently too.
No, it was on Netflix for a while.
Yeah.
That movie is more it's so funny. That movie is more disturbing to me than Joker. Like in terms of overall subject matter and the just how fucked up the main character.
Ray Liotta.
Yeah, that's right. It is Ray Liotta.
He rules. He has a rant in that is so funny when he blows up on Seth Rogen.
Who's the girl he was into as well?
Anna Faris.
Is Anna Faris? Okay, yeah. I thought it was for a second Amber Heard, but that was Pineapple Express.
And then he was also into the bringing it back around to the interview you guys did last week. He was into that Colette Wolfe, I think her name was, the girl who worked at the Cinnabon.
Yep.
And it's like it was one of those scenes where you're supposed to be rooting for Seth Rogen, like, yeah, he's gonna get back at him, and then he basically just shoves Patton Oswalt into an oven, like, and watching it be like, God damn, dude, like, is there anything likable about you? Ronnie Barnhart, hell of a character,
Yeah, Observe Report. Yeah, it was
Fat Damon in this too. No,
that movie is
Earth Dick King.
I think we did a throwback of this. Anyway, Barbarian, getting a lot of love. 92% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes from critics, 70% from audiences, which for a movie like this, I think 70% from audiences is like pretty fucking good. It is very much a subvert your expectations, different type of movie. I would go in not knowing much about this movie if you can.
Yep.
I think it helps out a lot. Here's the synopsis, doesn't give away a ton. Traveling to Detroit for a job interview, a young woman books a rental home. When she arrives late at night, she discovers that the house is double booked and a strange man is already staying there. Against her better judgment, she decides to spend the evening, but soon discovers that there's a lot more to fear than just an unexpected house guest. I won't say too much off the top. We'll do a spoiler thing in a second. I really liked this movie. It was very different than most horror movies. It's completely different in terms of structure. Again, subvert your expectations is kind of a great way to say it. I won't say much more than that, but I thoroughly enjoyed Barbarian. Justin Long mentioned a little bit, almost like Sam Raimi. I almost said Sam Mendes. Yeah. Sam Raimi vibes. Like you get some of that too. There's some
Wes Craven too. I felt.
Yeah. I thought it was very well done. It's a movie that makes you think. A movie that kind of leaves breadcrumbs there for you to figure things out along the way and kind of take leaps and figure it out on your own and decide how you view the movie, what it's saying, title, all of that and more. I gave Barbarian an 87 out of 100. I think it's one of the better movies of the year. A huge surprise. Did not think this would be up there. It's been a really good year for horror, and it continues with Barbarian. Ken, Jack.
I would say that the biggest thing about this movie is definitely what you just said, which is go into it not knowing anything, because there is a lot of insane twists and turns, and I think that really does like enhance or make your experience so much better when you don't know the characters, the timelines, the plots, or anything like that. I think this was it was like a maze of a movie, but in like a really, really, really good way. I think all the performances were awesome. Justin Long included played a great asshole. Great asshole in that movie, especially towards and without spoiling, like getting towards his scenes near the end of the movie are awesome. That was like an all-time like oh yeah moment, and I think that it's one where horror is so. We talk about it all the time. At least I talk about it all the time with horror. It's so like top heavy. I think this was a really solid like. Not excellent horror movie. It was a really solid one to watch, and one I could easily recommend to almost anyone. Not one that's going to be like overtly mega gruesome and like you're not going to want to watch, or one that's just overly relying on jump scares or anything. It's just a good ass story.
It's no more gruesome than an episode of Game of Thrones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that might be a high bar now. I don't know.
Yeah, but
what do you call it? I think that there's a lot to be offered here for someone who like is more like me and just isn't into going and watching like the Nun or whatever, something else that's just going to be nonstop jump scares. There's more to offer in this, and I love that.
The Nun, baby.
And that's where I think it's really smart having a guy like Kreger come in, because like a lot of horror brains have like the same mindset going into these, like, hey, let's spend $2 million and have teenagers pay us back our budget 15-fold. But I think this had like a more fresh sort of look, and I really appreciated it. I gave it an 84, by the way.
Robbie.
Oh, yeah, so I'm actually splitting the difference right at 85.
Okay.
Was not looking forward to seeing this movie. It just felt like, I will say, if you're listening to this review, and sometimes a lot of people listen to the spoiler review and still go see the movie afterwards anyway, because spoilers don't ruin the experience for them. This is a movie where the less you know going in, the better. I knew hardly anything. I'd seen one trailer earlier when we posted it when it first came out. But outside of that, I didn't know much about this. And it elevated the viewing experience tremendously for me. The first 20 minutes set it up as one thing, and it goes a completely different direction from there. I had a lot of fun with it. It's kind of perverse. It takes a lot of joy in doing some fun stuff.
Good
visually.
redirects. A lot of good redirects.
Yeah, I thought the lead, Georgina
Campbell,
yeah, she was great.
Really good.
Where is she from? What else was she in before? Was she in Black Mirror? Was that?
She is in a Black Mirror episode. Yeah,
just
Hang
had her
the DJ.
1 second.
She's in Hang the DJ episode of Black Mirror, Krypton, Broadchurch, and Flowers.
A lot of stuff you probably haven't seen if you're listening.
Smaller stuff then, yeah. But she was quite. I'm with you, good. She was quite good. Yeah.
She was quite good because she delivered on like just a lot of different facets. I mean, in terms of horror acting, can sometimes be just a one pitch kind of style where you just act scared the whole time.
One note,
she delivered good dramatic stuff, good comedic, a lot of great comedic stuff in here. Movie was fun. Yeah, no, I'd recommend seeing it in the theater. I saw it in the theater. I think it was about 4:00 on Friday. Room full of NYU kids. I was a little worried I was going to pee myself in front of them or have to walk out, and that would have been just killer for my ego. But yeah, no, it was fun. The theater had fun with it. A lot of like, what the fuck? Like just audible, just a couple. Like you just hear someone in the back just go, what the fuck?
Yeah, there's some real fucked up like weird shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Plays well in the story though. Doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, no. It was good. It was really good.
Chris, what do you think about Barbarian?
Well, it's a weird thing. I've said on here before. I'm not a fan of horror movies, and so much of that is I don't sensory issues. I hate jump scares, and really I just think that so many of them are so consistently repetitive that it annoys me. So the experience of watching this movie was not a lot of fun. I mean, I'm a big pussy. People know. I was covering my ears and my eyes for a majority of it, waiting for the next jump scare. But after I left the theater and ran home, which is kind of a funny story.
Like
this
physically ran home?
Okay, yeah, because here
you want to run home.
Can I tell the story here?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I run or jog a lot. That's like I was a big fat fuck before I got like a year before I got hired by Barstool. And a big reason why I've lost that weight is I run quite often. And the movie theater that I'm at is about 1.5 miles away from where I live. So it was, I think, a 6:30 showing. So I ran to the theater when it was still, nice out, sun was setting. And I'm like, all right, I'll go see this movie. And when I left, it was pitch black. And the last thing I wanted to fucking do was run in the dark after seeing Barbarian. And I was like, there were multiple times. For whatever reason, there were 2 men that I came across who were in crutches in their garages just staring at me. And I'm like, look,
fuck up.
I'm like, this motherfucker comes at me. I'm sorry for your affliction, but it's me or you. Like this is gonna be fight or flight. And as crazy as all that sounds, this is actually one of my favorite movies of the year so far. I really, really like this a lot. I think that despite my qualms, my frustrations with horror movies, this movie works on 3 different levels. One, I love the way it's directed. Now it is this guy doing his best Jordan Peele impression, but hey, there's a lot worse imitators out there. I think there's a really unique visual language to the movie. I love not to spoil it too much, but I love the kind of, not montage, but the flashback to, how the main villain of the piece, kind of his origin story and how creepy that was and how just quiet that was. And I think they actually changed the aspect ratio too when they go back in time to the 80s. I thought that was very creepy. The acting's great here. Justin Long, I know he was never he never went away, but watching him in this, I'm like, how did he not become a bigger star? Because he's playing such an ass in this, and he's very charismatic. Like, even when he's legitimately a bad person, but you still kind of like him. Like the way he delivers lines is good, but the story is excellent, and the character of the mother is one of the really good horror antagonists that we've seen in a minute. So I think it's a very effective movie. I think it's a scary movie. Gooch, you just kind of alluded to it. I think that this is a movie that, like, my senior year of college, I went to see it in a packed crowd at Celebration Cinema in Mount Pleasant, and people were going nuts. This is a movie that's going to be like that for a lot of people. And I really think people are going to respond and be yelling at the screen and jumping. It's a very clever story. It's a unique story. Yes, there are issues I have with it. There are still a lot of dumb character decisions that only exist just to move the plot forward. But the journey as a whole, I was satisfied with it. And the one thing I give any movie credit for, especially a movie this intense, doesn't overstay its welcome. I mean, the movie literally, it's intentional. The movie cuts itself off. Like, when the second that the main plot has ended, credits start rolling. Yep. So I actually, I don't like horror movies, so because of that, it's hard for me to recommend it to people who might not. But as a film, I think that this is, they didn't cut any corners here. I was actually, in hindsight, very impressed by what they did with Barbarian. So I do recommend it with that caveat of knowing, like, if these aren't your kind of films, I don't know if you'll dig it. But I was happy with it. I think it's very good and memorable. I mean, I saw it a week ago. I think you guys probably saw it well before me. It stuck with me. There is some legit commentary. And one last thing, because I know I'm rambling. I can't believe I went this long without mentioning this. The movie takes place in Detroit.
I was literally about to ask. I was like, are you satisfied with how? I'm not as familiar with that part of Michigan as some people might think I am, but I thought there was, especially in that scene that I just brought up with the flashback, there's some very subtle commentary regarding the current state of suburban Detroit. And they made a comment with Reagan. They were making a comment on Reagan, it felt like with the radio. Yeah,
and just the look of the neighborhood from the flashback sequence to the present day sequence. I thought the stuff with the cops was a little bit weird. I thought that was a little bit there was a gray area there where it's like, are you making a comment on police brutality? Are you making a comment on like, are you saying police are stupid? That was kind of weird to me. I didn't really vibe with that. But in terms of just, there's I feel like a legit statement about kind of that cultural ladder and the passage of time and the way that Detroit has changed, that I legitimately I appreciate it. So it's a movie I've come to like way more over time. I think this is really, really good. And I'm glad to see it picking up some steam and doing well at the box office too, because it's an original idea with some really unique ideas. Yeah,
especially versus like some of like other horror movies that come out where it's just like, what was that one, the vampire one, the Invitation or whatever, and like all that other stuff where it's just like,
that looks awful.
They're those ones are just built. They have nothing to say. They're just built to make money. But like, it's nice to have one like this where it's like someone had like a very original idea and like, let's do something cool.
Yeah, and, well, even like, I mean, we recently reviewed Bodies, which I think is similar genre, but it's I think it leans way heavily closer to the horror comedy. But the problem with that is that movie was so simplistic with its story, And every character, while it's intentional, every character in that movie is an idiot, like, or just completely unlikable. Here, I found myself wrapped. I got wrapped into the story. I really did. And I think one weird thing, Bill Skarsgård at the very beginning, I did not think was actually that good. I thought he was a little bit wooden.
Major, where's my hug at?
Yeah. But I also saw he was an executive producer on this.
Was he really?
Yeah, so that makes me think that maybe he bought into this idea, and maybe as a favor was like, yeah, I'll be in it. So yeah, good movie. I'm glad all of us like it.
Major spoiler at this point, like we kind of dove into a little bit. Like,
yeah, I threw a ton out there. Sorry.
I mean, it's not a traditional like kind of A to B, like you know what you're getting with this type of horror movie. No. I mean, even in the end, like you mentioned the antagonist, Chris. Like you could argue the woman isn't even the antagonist.
She's a victim.
Yeah, she is a victim. Like that's kind of that's kind of the way you need to kind of look at it. I'll give this context to the director. Did say like I believe it was male privilege is like part of the theme here, which is what is
she has a dialogue about she delivers a line that men will run straight to the door and they don't care who's behind it, like
you see that with Frank the old man, the man who has committed like the heinous like sexual crimes and all that. And you see it with AJ, Justin Long's character, who is being accused of something, does a really bad job explaining it off. Very clearly like not
definitely
a good guy.
Guilty.
Yeah, like very clearly guilty. And like they are like the, I guess, quote unquote barbarians there. You know, he fucking throws Tess off the.
Oh, that's why it's got that title.
Yeah, there you go. Throws Tess off the water tower.
I thought it was because you couldn't spell Airbnb without Barbarian. You can't spell Barbarian without Airbnb.
It's just a big advertisement. It's an advertisement for Verbo, actually. They don't want you doing Airbnb. Like, this is why you just do Verbos instead. I thought it was a neat way to do that because it really kept you the whole. First of all, obviously in the beginning you're meant to think that Bill Skarsgård's character is.
It's a good misdirect.
It's a good misdirect.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of misdirected a second time to like, oh fuck, this woman is just like, this is fucked up. Like she's like this demon. She is just like this literal monster. But then again, it's just another misdirect because in the end, like you're kind of forced to feel sympathetic for it. Because like in the end, she is a victim in this process, and you recognize that as she, that's kind of, I guess, Tess win in the end.
Yeah, I mean, as much of a win as you can get in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, as much. I mean, all things considered. But I do like, because even with AJ, you're like, shit, are we supposed to like feel bad? Are we supposed to think? And then you realize like, no, this dude kind of sucks. Like, wait, and then because even like when they're when they're escaping and when they're getting away, and you're like, all right, shit, like it's gonna be these two in the end potentially. You're like, oh, like, but he kind of sucks.
Yes.
And then it all kind of comes to pass.
Yeah. And even Justin Long's character, to the film's credit, does have an arc. Like there is, they actually do kind of complete that circle. It doesn't make him it doesn't make him a lovable, like sympathetic character, obviously, but at least
complete character, I guess, more, right?
For sure, yeah. And it's funny, that actor, was it Frank was the name of the guy who was the
old guy.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out where I'd seen that actor from. Because all he ever plays is creeps. And I think he played Joe Chill in Batman.
He did play Joe Chill.
Yes.
Yeah, so I was. Yeah,
he's a great creep. He was also in Doom, one of my favorite guilty pleasure movies. He's a really good asshole in that.
He's also the Night King.
He was also, yes, I think before they recasted that other dude. He was also, I want to say, in Mandy. It was like him and that other good British actor.
Oh yeah, he played.
Wait, was he the old dude in what was Edgar Wright's movie last year?
Last Night in Soho.
Oh
Yeah, was he the old guy?
No. That was
different old guy.
That was Chancellor Valorum, wasn't it? It was Terrence Stamp.
Terrence Stamp, Chancellor Valorum. Yeah.
Oh, it was
Pacific
Terrence Stamp. Yeah.
Yeah. This guy's not nearly that old.
Yeah, no. It's great.
For the Dark World. Good. Nice. Good for him.
Yeah, good for him being in Thor the Dark World.
Death of Stalin, too. Damn, man.
This is something that you should definitely know. I mean, at this point, if you've fucking heard this, you've kind of ruined the whole thing. But I think this is one where like, you go in, you have a little expectation for something, and you get thrown around. You get thrown for a loop a bunch in here. And again, it makes you kind of wait. It makes you kind of need to pick the pieces up on your own, which I love. Like I thought this was easily one of the better movies released this year. A lot
of trust in the audience.
Exactly. Creative, different. It respects the audience.
Yeah.
right? Like,
rare.
like it really has a respect of like people seeing this. You know what? Here we go. Here are the puzzle pieces. Put it together. And it's not a movie. It's like ooh, this movie is it's however you make it for yourself. Like we talked about with Nope. Like I think there's a billion ways you could look at Nope. This has a fairly clear how you look at it, but it's about how you get there and how you arrive there. And actually, Chris Stuckman said in his review, like you're still wondering who the Barbarian is at the end. You've probably not paid attention. you probably aren't really watching the movie. So it's fairly cut and dry in that sense. But getting there is the battle with this, and I mean that in a good way. This is Barbarian is awesome.
Genuine, maybe one of my biggest surprises of the entire year.
For sure.
I was really, really pleased with this. I don't want that to be overlooked. Like this is, I think this is an exceptionally well-made movie.
A lot of doors.
Good point.
Just a lot of doors. Kept opening every single door.
Yeah.
It was a door-heavy house. It was a what was that thing in the rehearsal? That opening line that Nathan says. He's like, "Is Door City over here or something?" And he goes in his apartment. Core Skeet.
really-
I mean, just not to go off on a tangent, but Core Skeet had to be one of the all-time coolest names I think I've ever heard.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
That guy's just like a random weirdo, but man, Core Skeet, what a name.
Would you guys have drank the milk?
Always a good fuck. I mean, at that point,
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm stuck there at that point, I'll drink arsenic.
Honestly, that's what for next week's House of the Dragon, the previews. That's what King Viserys looks like. He looks like Mother. He looks like Mama.
see, I need to see it. I haven't seen the
Wrinkled
preview.
as shit, dude.
Also,
crazy.
When they cut to the end credits, perfect use of "Be My Baby" by the Ronettes. That was a great song choice to cut to. Oh, that ruled.
I'm really excited to see what Zach Krieger does next.
Same.
I think that this was a very, he co-directed Miss March or directed Miss So. I mean, but for
See if he's got anything on the.
Essentially his new a debut of his new kind of style. So I'm very excited to see. It's very weird how comedy directors are turning into horror directors. I don't know how that would.
We've talked about this for I guess for like 2 years now, maybe more than that.
I wouldn't expect that connection to be made, but I guess it's about subverting expectations with both, and they've done a great job with that.
Kind of like two sides of the same coin. I think that's what we were talking about with Justin Long.
Yeah.
It's like they're very similar sort of approaches, just in different objectives, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think what makes you laugh and what makes you scared, you can kind of keyhole them in a weird way in the same kind of overall sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's going back to comedy next. He's doing a series. He's writing a series. It's based on Stripes. The
Good ass.
Oh, really?
Bill Murray, John Candy.
Pearl and the Woman King next week. I'm very excited to talk about Pearl.
Right.
I got to see Woman King.
I'm excited
I've
for
not
the
seen
Woman
it.
King.
I am too.
honestly.
It's apparently very good. I'm going to see it this week. All right. I think that's it. That's it. For Ken, Jack, Chris, Gooch, I'm Jeff D'Lo. We will talk to you next time.